Hey everybody, just wanted to give you some quick instructions on the Wonderland kit that I failed to do on the first video, which is how to put the cover together. Sometimes I assume something's easy when it really isn't, so bear with me every once in a while because sometimes I screw up like that. But here we go. So on the Wonderland cover, you will have a front and back cover that looks like this. They're identical. And then you're going to have two spine pieces that look like this. You're going to print this out on just regular cardstock. Any cardstock from the office supply store is great. I always get asked what kind of cardstock I use, and I just use whatever's available to me at the time, so it doesn't matter what kind you use. And then this is the flap. So what you want to do, so what you want to do is the flap is going to go this way. So you are going to make your spine first. So you're going to start off with one page, and you're going to take one of your spine pieces. So you got two spine pieces. You're going to take one spine piece. Now this really depends on what the thickness of your book is. So what you're going to want to do is after you've assembled all of your envelopes with the strings inside on one side, you want to measure how thick that is. And then what you're going to do is you're going to measure that out onto your spine piece, but you're going to add a 1/2 of an inch to that. And then you're going to add a 1/2 of an inch. So let's just say that this is about how thick my spine is. So if my spine, let me give you a better example. Sorry, I'm kind of getting jumbled up. I'm really sick right now, so I'm trying to do this and my brain's just not wanting to work. So let's say that your book, all of your envelopes put together is about 2 inches thick. So you're gonna wanna cut a piece that is 2.5 inches. So you would want this piece to be 2.5 inches wide. And the reason you want that is because you want to be able to score a 1/4 inch on each side. Now you can make it more than that. And in fact, I would, if it's your first time putting this book together, I would add an inch to the thickness of your book. So let's say that your envelopes are 2 inches thick. You're going to want to make your piece 3 inches thick. So once you've done that, let's pretend that this is 3 inches thick. Once you've done that, if you're adding an inch, you're going to want to score in a 1/2 of an inch. If you're only adding 1/2 of an inch, you're going to score in a 1/4 of an inch. So let's just say you've added a whole inch and we're going to be scoring a 1/2 of an inch. So this should be about 3 inches. So I'm just going to guess here. I'm not going to do any crazy measuring just so we can get through this. I'm going to measure in about a 1/2 of an inch, which if you look on my board here, the measurements are on here. So this piece measures 3.5 inches wide by 4.5 inches tall. So you want to keep the height because that's the height of the cover. So this is going to be 3.5 inches. So I'm going to pretend that my book is 1.5 inches. And I think that's what I did the first time. So I'm going to score at the 1/2 inch mark on each side. So there's a 1/2 inch there. And then I'm going to turn this around. I'm going to score a 1/2 inch on the other side. Okay, so I've got a 1/2 inch scored on this side, a 1/2 inch scored on this side. Now if I want to add a decorative edge, then you could use your hole punch, just like this, and add a decorative edge if you want to. And you only want to do your border punch after you've made your score lines because you don't want to change the thickness of your center. And it's hard to measure with a funny edge. Okay, so you would do this on both sides. And this is just regular paper that I'm using on this spine because I ran out of cardstock, but normally you would use cardstock. So that's why my paper's kind of tearing away and a little flimsy, but this is just for demo purposes anyway. All right. So now you're just going to fold along those existing score lines that you've just made, just like this. Just like that. And then you're going to glue one of these sides to the cover of your book. So take some glue. Make sure you get that whole lip covered really well so it doesn't come off. And you're just going to bump that cover up into the crease here like this. So can you kind of see how I've got a little overlap there? So now remember, this is if I'm doing a 2.5 inch spine. I didn't do a 2.5 inch spine on my original one. I think if you just assemble the envelopes and you don't add anything to the book, I think the spine will be okay if you did it 1.5 inches. So if you're doing a 1.5 inch thick spine, then of course you're going to add a whole inch to that, so it's going to be 2.5 inches wide. Alright, and then now you're going to glue your back cover onto this side here. So just like this. Get it into the crease there. Alright, so now you have something that's starting to look like a book like this. Now you've got to make this little flap here. Now to make this flap, you're going to do the exact same thing. So you're going to cut this spine the exact same way. So I'm going to score 1/2 inch on each side. Like that, and then we're going to punch that little border really quick just to add a little something. Now, of course, if you're using a larger punch, then you're going to have to add quite a bit. You're going to have to use more than a 1/2 inch extra. And this spine isn't that big, so you may need to print out 2 of them and kind of glue them together if you're going to have a super big spine. Do the same thing on this side. There's stuff stuck in there, sorry. Alright, so same thing, you're going to fold those in along your score marks. Same thing on this side. Now keep in mind on the flap, if you're going to do a bigger border punch, you may end up covering more of this flap than you need to, so beware. Alright, so now I'm going to glue this side down to my flap. So this is going to go like this, right in there, and you're going to see how much, because I did a 1/2 inch overlap on my spine, it's kind of going to cover up more of my flap. So you may want to do something else. And then now I'm going to glue this to the back cover. So the other flap is going to glue to the back cover. So open your book this way, and this piece is going to get glued right there. So now, once you've done all that, on my book, I just used whatever 12 by 12 pattern paper I had a ton of that matched the collection, and it was like this black and white striped pattern for my inside. But you can take any of the patterns that you printed out and double print them and line the inside if you want to, or just paint the inside with black acrylic paint. That would do really well too. And this is what the cover looks like when it's constructed. So it looks something like this. Now, of course, this spine's huge, and you're probably not going to need a spine that big, but you might. If you like really chunky books, you might. So for this flap, what I like to do is just trim off. If my border is overlapping, I just trim it off to the size of my flap here. Just like that. And for the binding, I believe I already showed this on the first video. All you're going to do is punch a hole center top, center bottom, and then you're going to cut strings about 18 inches long, and those go inside the envelope, and you just weave them through the holes and then tie them on the outside, and that's how you're going to put your envelopes in. And I put all my envelopes in first and then tied all the strings together at once, which I think I showed you guys. So that is how you construct the cover of the Wonderland book. If you have any other questions about this, please let me know, and I'm just going to recap really quick. On the spine, once again, you're going to want to measure, after you've constructed all of your envelopes, you're going to hold them together loosely, and you're going to see how thick your book is going to end up being. So you're going to measure the thickness. So if your book is 1.5, if all of your envelopes are 1.5 inches thick, you're going to cut your spine pieces to 2.5 inches wide. Okay? And you're going to do that for both pieces. Both pieces should be the exact same size when you're making this book. So another example would be is if your stack ended up being 2 inches thick, then of course you're going to cut your pieces at 3 inches wide. Okay, so it takes a little bit of measuring, but not a whole lot, and it's pretty easy stuff. You're really just scoring 1/2 inch on each side, or if you want to go a little bit less on your overlap, you could do 1/4 inch on each side. So that's the book, guys. Thank you so much. Sorry it took me so long. It's been a crazy, crazy year since having a new baby and moving to a new state, and then with the new deadlines and line releases. But I apologize for this not being in the first video, and hopefully I'll get a little bit better at not assuming that people can figure things out just by seeing it, because it's easy for me to do because I've done it, but it's not easy for you to do because you haven't done it yet. So I'll get better at that, and thank you so much for watching. And stay tuned this week because we have a whole new printable kit coming out with a full video instruction. And it's a really cool art journal kit. So I hope to see some of your projects from that, and hopefully get to see some more of these because I haven't seen a whole lot of these done. Actually, I have. I take that back. So you guys have been doing an excellent job with Wonderland Kit. I love it, and if you haven't gotten it yet, you may want to get it soon because I think we're going to be retiring this kit this month, so it won't be available on the website anymore. And I'll show you some of the envelopes that come in it and the embellishments that come in it real quick. So really detailed, really fun if you love Alice in Wonderland. And that's it. Thanks for watching.